My name is Ethan Cole, and I'm 27 years old. I was born in upstate New York, raised between small-town familiarity and the silent ache of family tensions no one ever really spoke about. By day, I'm a junior architect at a prestigious New York City firm. By night, I am a man trying to navigate the spaces between ambition, love, and the ghosts of my own mistakes. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it. She brushed her hand on my cheek and said, "Your neck feels so warm. Is that because of me?" It begins on a rainy October evening 2 years ago, when the firm sent me to oversee a high-profile project in Boston. We were renovating an old courthouse into a modern civic center. Brick and marble, history and ambition stitched together. My boss, Victor Jameson, was infamous for working his staff like warhorses, but I had learned to take the pressure as a kind of fuel. That night, though, something shifted. I met Clara Finch. She was the firm's new project coordinator, transferred from our London office. When she walked into the temporary site office, the buzz of the fluorescent lights dimmed in my mind. She wore a charcoal coat flecked with rain, auburn hair pinned in a loose twist, and a small silver pendant shaped like a compass resting just above her heart. She introduced herself with a firm handshake and a glance that felt like it was measuring me. Like she could see the architect behind the suit, the restless boy from upstate trying to prove himself. For weeks, we worked side by side on impossible deadlines. Late nights at the courthouse became our routine. Blueprints spread across the scarred oak table, coffee cooling in paper cups, our laptops glowing like beacons. We spoke about everything but our personal lives, until one night when the wind outside howled like a warning. "I hate storms," she said, hugging herself. "When I was a kid, they meant my parents were about to fight again." I looked up from my sketches. Mine too. Different reasons, same feeling. Her eyes softened. Funny how people's histories rhyme. Something inside me cracked. For the first time in years, I told someone about my father's silent departures, about my mother's brittle patience, about the way I'd used architecture as a way of building walls I could control. She listened, not with pity but with understanding. And then she began to share. Her father's bankruptcy, her mother's bitterness, the secret she'd carried about feeling responsible for holding her family together. That night, we didn't work much. We sat on the courthouse steps watching rain sluice off the columns. She brushed her hand against my cheek to flick away a raindrop. Her skin was cool, electric, and she whispered, almost like she was testing me, "Your neck feels so warm. Is that because of me?" I laughed softly, stunned by the intimacy of it. "Maybe," I said, "maybe it is." We didn't kiss, not yet, but in that moment something invisible took root. The weeks that followed blurred between spreadsheets and stolen glances. The courthouse began to feel like our secret world. We ate lunch in unfinished hallways, our voices echoing off bare walls. She'd tease me about my over-precise sketches. I'd tease her about the way she chewed her pen when she was deep in thought. Yet even in the warmth, a shadow lingered. Victor, my boss, had started dropping subtle remarks about Clara. "She's ambitious," he said one evening. "Don't let her use you as a stepping stone." The implication stung. Victor had always been paternal toward me, but lately he felt more like a rival. He'd praise my work in meetings, then criticize it in private, a classic control move. One Friday, after a brutal week, Clara invited me to dinner. "Not a date," she insisted, but her eyes betrayed a hope. We went to a quiet restaurant by the harbor. Candlelight flickered between us. We talked about architecture, music, and finally ourselves. "I almost left the firm last year," she confessed. "London was complicated." "How so?" She hesitated. "Someone powerful promised me things he couldn't deliver. When I tried to end it, he made my life miserable." Her voice trembled. She steadied it with wine. I reached across the table, covering her hand. "You're here now," I said. "Fresh start." She smiled, but her eyes darted past me, as though scanning for someone. Later, as we walked back to the hotel, she clutched my arm tighter than necessary. A black car idled across the street. I dismissed it as coincidence, until it showed up again 2 nights later near the courthouse. Around this time, my older brother, Michael, called. He'd always been the golden child, Wall Street success, the kind of confidence that left me in the shade. Our relationship had frayed over the years, especially after he sided with my father during their divorce. Now he wanted to reconnect. "I'll be in Boston on business," he said. "Let's grab a drink." I was wary but agreed. We met at a downtown bar. He looked the same, tailored suit, expensive watch, but his eyes were tired. We talked about Mom, about our childhood, about nothing. Then he asked, "So, who's the woman?" "What woman?" He smirked. "Don't play dumb. I saw you leaving the Harbor restaurant with her." Cold knot formed in my stomach. "You were in Boston?" "Coincidence," he said. But the pause after the word was too long. When I got back to the hotel that night, Clara was waiting in the lobby. She looked shaken. "We need to talk," she whispered. In my room, she closed the curtains and paced. "The man who made my life hell in London, he's here. He's been sending messages, threats. I think he knows about us." "Who is he?" She bit her lip. "Victor Jameson." The name hit me like a wrecking ball. My mentor, my boss, the man who'd shaped my career, he was the one? She showed me her phone. Messages from an unknown number. "You can't hide. I built you. I can break you." My hands trembled. "We have to go to HR. Or the police." She shook her head. "He's too powerful. He has connections. Last time I tried to expose him, I almost lost everything. I felt the walls close in, the courthouse, the job, the family I thought I understood. Suddenly, the black car outside didn't feel like coincidence. Over the next few days, I juggled deadlines while scanning every street for danger. Victor flew in for site inspections. His smiles felt like traps. Clara kept her distance in public but left notes for me hidden in the blueprints. "Stay calm. Trust me." Meanwhile, Michael kept calling. "You're in over your head," he warned cryptically. "Back out before it's too late." I began to suspect everyone. My boss, my brother, even Clara. Was she telling me the whole truth? Why had she really come from London? The tension between my loyalty to Victor, my feelings for Clara, and my unresolved past with Michael stretched me thin. Sleep became a stranger. One night, I found a note slipped under my hotel door. "Meet me at the courthouse at midnight." Alone. It wasn't signed, but I knew the handwriting, Clara's. I went. The courthouse was dark, echoing, half-finished. Moonlight spilled through the high windows. I called her name. No answer. My footsteps echoed as I climbed the grand staircase, heart hammering. And then a voice behind me, "You shouldn't be here." I turned. Michael stood at the bottom of the stairs, shadowed. In his hand glinted a phone, its screen recording. "Michael? What are you doing?" "She played you," he said quietly, "just like she played Victor." My breath caught. "What are you talking about?" But before he could answer, a door slammed somewhere above us. Footsteps, and Clara appeared at the landing, eyes wide, like a trapped bird. "Ethan," she said, "please, you don't understand." Clara's silhouette froze at the top of the stairs, a pale outline against the moonlit window. Her hair was loose, her coat hanging open as if she'd run here. Michael's voice echoed up the stairwell like a verdict. "She used Victor," he said, "to climb, and when he wouldn't give her what she wanted, she tried to ruin him. Now she's using you." "That's not true," Clara shot back, her voice trembling but sharp. "Victor used me. He promised mentorship, then cornered me. When I refused, he blacklisted me in London. I had to come here because it was the only transfer I could get." I stood halfway between them, my palms sweating. The marble floor felt like a chessboard, and I was the pawn. "Michael, how do you even know any of this?" "Because," he said, "Victor called me. He said you were about to throw your career away over some woman who thrives on chaos. He wanted me to warn you." Clara's eyes blazed. "Of course he did. Classic Victor. Pull strings behind the scenes. Send someone you trust to do the dirty work." I swallowed hard. "Michael, what did he tell you exactly?" "That she's dangerous. That she has a history of manipulating men." that she's planning to leak sensitive project documents to the press to make him look corrupt. I turned to Clara. Is that true? Her breath hitched. I kept the documents, she admitted. But not to hurt you. Victor has been funneling money from the Boston project. Embezzlement. I have proof. He thinks I'm going to the press, and he's right. But I was hoping you'd help me do it cleanly, legally. You're the only one I trust. My stomach twisted. The courthouse's great hall loomed around us, a cavern of shadows and whispers. Somewhere outside, thunder rolled. Felt like standing in the eye of a storm I'd ignored for too long. Michael lowered his phone. You're being played, Ethan. Clara took a cautious step down. And you're being used, she said to Michael. Victor doesn't care about you. He just doesn't want his empire to fall. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe my brother. Both couldn't be true. Or could they? Footsteps echoed from the far end of the hall. All three of us turned. A tall figure stepped out of the darkness. Victor Jameson himself, immaculate in a dark coat, an umbrella hooked over one arm like a scepter. His presence was a tidal wave of control. I thought I might find you here, he said smoothly. Midnight meetings, secret plans. So romantic. Victor, I said, my voice cracking. What is this? What it's always been, he replied. Loyalty and betrayal. Ambition and weakness. He glanced at Clara. You really don't know when to quit, do you? Clara's hands clenched. I'm done quitting. I'm done being afraid. Victor's gaze shifted to me, almost fatherly. Ethan, step away from her. She'll drag you down. I've seen it before, but I can still protect you. Your promotion, your future, all of it. My heart pounded. Did you threaten her? In London. He smiled faintly. That's her story. She's very good at stories. But the truth, Ethan, the truth is always more complicated. Clara's voice cut through like a blade. He's lying. He's been siphoning funds from every major project for years. I have the emails, the wire transfers. It's over, Victor. Victor's expression cooled. Then give them to me, and I'll forget your little escapade. No. Michael took a step forward. Victor, maybe we should. Stay out of this. Victor snapped, the paternal mask slipping for the first time. The room felt like it was closing in, everyone's secrets hanging in the air. I realized something in that moment. Whether Clara was a manipulator or a whistleblower, whether Victor was a mentor or a predator, this was my decision. My life, my future, my integrity. I'm tired of being a pawn, I said quietly. I'm not stepping away. Not this time. Victor's eyes narrowed. You don't know what you're doing. Maybe not, I said. But I know who I don't want to become. Clara reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a flash drive. Here, she said, holding it up. Proof of everything. Victor's jaw clenched. He took a slow step forward. Give it to me. She hesitated, looking at me. Ethan, I met her gaze. If it's real, we take it to the authorities. Together. Victor moved faster than I expected, lunging for her wrist. Michael shouted. I grabbed Victor's arm, pulling him back. For a split second, the four of us were locked in a violent tableau. Ambition, fear, loyalty, truth, until Clara wrenched free and bolted down the hall. Stop her, Victor roared. Michael hesitated, then looked at me. I shook my head. Don't. I ran after her. She was halfway across the main hall, her footsteps echoing like gunshots. Clara, I called. Wait. She spun around, eyes wild. Do you believe me? I don't know, I said honestly, but I'm willing to find out. Tears welled in her eyes, cutting through her mask of composure. You're the only one who ever said that. Behind us, Victor's voice thundered. You'll regret this, Cole. You're finished. I turned back, my voice steady. No, Victor. Maybe you are. We slipped out a side door into the cold night. Rain slicked the streets, headlights slicing through mist. Clara pressed the flash drive into my hand. You keep it, she said. If something happens to me, nothing's going to happen to you, I said. We'll go to the FBI first thing in the morning. For the first time in months, I felt a strange sense of clarity. Not peace exactly. More like the moment before dawn when the darkness begins to thin. The next days were a blur. We contacted a federal investigator. Clara turned over her evidence. I gave my testimony. Victor was suspended pending investigation. Headlines erupted about embezzlement at one of the city's top firms. My own name stayed out of the press for now. Michael sent me a single text. "I'm sorry." I didn't reply. Clara stayed at my apartment while the dust settled. For the first time, we allowed ourselves to be simply two people instead of coworkers, conspirators, survivors. We cooked together. We laughed. Some nights she'd wake up shaking from nightmares of London. I'd hold her until she calmed. One evening, as winter snow began to fall outside, she reached across the couch and brushed her hand along my cheek. The same gesture from that first night at the courthouse. "Your neck feels so warm," she murmured. "Is that because of me?" I smiled, though my throat tightened. "Yeah, it's because of you. But life is not a movie where the villains are arrested and the lovers live happily ever after." The investigation dragged on for months. Clara was subpoenaed, her past dissected in court. I was called a traitor by some colleagues, a hero by others. And though Clara and I tried to hold on, the stress carved fissures between us. "I can't stay here," she said one night, packing a small bag. "Every time I walk into that office, I feel like I'm back in London. I need to start over, somewhere new." I wanted to beg her to stay, but I had my own rebuilding to do. My career, my family, my sense of self. I kissed her goodbye at the train station, snow swirling around us like confetti at a wedding that never was. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing me when no one else did." And then she was gone. Months later, the case concluded. Victor pleaded guilty to fraud. The firm survived under new leadership. My own position stabilized. Michael and I began to speak again, haltingly, like brothers learning a new language. Mom visited me in the city. We talked about the past, about walls and what it means to dismantle them. Sometimes, when I pass the old courthouse, I think of Clara, her compass pendant, her steady gaze, her hand on my cheek. I don't know where she is now. Maybe London, maybe somewhere far quieter. But I know she changed me. I used to build walls to feel safe. Now I try to design spaces where people can breathe, where light can reach. That's what she gave me. A glimpse of a life built not on fear, but on truth, however painful. And if there's a lesson in all of it, it's this. Love and trust are not about certainty. They're about choosing to stand beside someone in the storm, knowing you might be wrong, but also knowing you'd rather risk the storm than live behind your own walls forever. That's the story I've never told anyone, until now. A year has passed since that winter. I'm still in New York, still drawing lines and spaces on paper, but the man holding the pencil feels like someone I've only just begun to know. Sometimes, late at night, I'll scroll through old project files and find one of Clara's annotations buried in the margins. A question, a small sketch of a compass. It's strange how a person can vanish from your day-to-day life but still move through the corridors of your mind like sunlight through dust. I've rebuilt parts of my family. Michael and I talk every Sunday. We're awkward, but we're trying. Mom says she's proud of me for finally standing up for yourself. Though she doesn't know half the story, maybe she never will. And yet, in quieter moments, I catch myself touching my neck the way she did, remembering that rainy night on the courthouse steps. She brushed her hand on my cheek and said, "Your neck feels so warm. Is that because of me?" It was a small thing, but it became a hinge in my life. A moment where my walls cracked enough for light to get in. We like to imagine that our turning points are grand gestures, wedding vows, resignations, confessions. But more often, there are a few quiet words in a half-empty building, or the press of a hand against your skin. There are moments where you decide, consciously or not, who you're going to be next. I don't know where Clara is now. Maybe she's designing her own life somewhere with less noise. Maybe she's helping another firm clean its conscience. Maybe she's simply living. But wherever she is, a part of her travels with me. Not as a ghost, not as a regret, but as a compass. Because the real story isn't about Victor's downfall, or even about Clara. It's about what happens inside a person when they choose truth over comfort, integrity over advancement, vulnerability over silence. It's about the cost of that choice and the strange, unexpected freedom on the other side. So this is what I've learned, and what I want to leave with you. People will test your boundaries. Love will blur them. Ambition will tempt you to betray them. But at the end of the day, all you truly have is the architecture of your own heart. The rooms you build, the doors you open, the walls you take down. And sometimes, if you're lucky, someone will touch your cheek, ask you why you're warm, and you'll realize it's because for the first time in your life, you're finally alive. That's the story I've never told anyone. Until now.